All right, live.
Good evening. Welcome to our third single-issue meeting on the topic of reopening. I predicted to Mr. Piccirillo tonight, my assistant superintendent, that we would have a small crowd because of a number of reasons. A, we believe we've communicated our plan reasonably well and that people understand it. B, most parents have made their decisions about what they want to do with their children in terms of virtual or live instruction. Because of those two reasons, I did not expect a large gathering. We have about 45 people online, and I hope that this is an indication of positive communication. My goal tonight is to just update you on a few items that were in gray areas in the past two meetings, and we'll see where we go from there. So we should not have a long interaction. I am reinforcing responsibilities. In order for us to have a successful experience in this new school year, there's a wide swath of responsibilities that must be completed, not only by the school, but also by families. There is no question to the first item. All students must be wearing a mask when they arrive at school, regardless of the method of transportation that delivers them. If it's a car, if it's a bus, if it's a walk, or if it's a bike, must wear masks. I have offered accommodations for students, but have received almost no accommodation notices that came with a doctor's note that a child could not wear a mask. So there are very, very, very few exceptions to the mask rule.
And there has been a little bit of clarification on the masks. This has been an evolving definition from the governor and from our local agencies of what constitutes an acceptable mask. So the update is, you may have seen gaiters. We cannot use gaiters in school. Gaiters are they kind of go around your neck and you pull it up. And we also can't use bandanas for students. So bandanas and gaiters are not going to be allowed for our students or staff. And we are using cloth masks. So this is a cloth mask. You might have seen those like face shields. Those are really only acceptable in very few cases, very specific circumstances. So as a rule of thumb, look for a cloth mask, which most of you are wearing cloth masks. Those are the ones we're looking for students in the building and teachers.
Children will get a mask break, for example, during snack. Some of the principals have arranged to have all snacks outside, so there's less worry about situations where children are not wearing masks. Teachers must wear masks all day, no exception. Breakfast or lunch will not be eaten at school. Any family that orders lunch or any family that's on free and reduced lunch program will have the lunches and the breakfast given to them. The lunches can be eaten after school. The breakfasts can be eaten the next day. The one exception to that will be day one, where if a child is hungry, we will certainly allow them to eat breakfast. When students are off, free and reduced lunch students still will be eligible to get lunches. We can't deliver as we did in the summer. We just don't have the personnel to do that. So there'll be arrangements for students on virtual week or students who are all virtual will have the ability, families will have the ability to pick up breakfasts and lunches for the week, 2 days a week.
And we're going to have all of those picked up from one central location, which will be the high school cafeteria
Right. The high school cafeteria
for all buildings.
will do the preparation of all food. If you recall, we put forth in a survey, I think it was survey number 2. Well, I get them mixed up, might be the 1 and 2. We asked how many people were opting to buy lunch. Very few parents are opting to buy lunch. However, free and reduced lunch, that is a necessity that the district provide those, breakfast and lunch to children. When at school, when in hallways, we need to train the children to be socially distanced. We don't expect kids to come to school with that full understanding. So as educators, it is our job to make sure that we can teach children how to socially distance when in the classroom. When in a hallway. The seats in classrooms will be set up to be as socially distant as possible. Right now, about, as I said, 60% of families are opting for live instruction. Divide that by 2 because of the A and B cohorts. We feel very strongly that we're in pretty good shape in classrooms. Perhaps the biggest responsibility of parents will be, please do not send a child to school who has any type of illness, especially a temperature. What will happen if a child is discovered with a temperature at school when he or she comes in? We're going to have to isolate that child. We're going to have to call a parent or guardian, and we're going to have to put an employee with the child until he or she is picked up. That's a difficulty for us. If your child has a fever, if your child has sniffles and a cold and a cough, we ask that you be extra vigilant and not send that child to school so that we are faced with an isolation situation.
And if they have a fever, the temptation may be to give them Tylenol, to drop their fever, then send them to school. Please, I mean, when in doubt, keep them out. That's just it. Not only is it a good idea to prevent the spread of possible COVID, it also is a good idea to just prevent alarm. You know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. September brings illness in schools. Colds, pink eye, strep throat, these things don't change, but everyone's going to be on heightened alert. So we just don't want to cause alarm unnecessarily, and I think you would agree with me.
So we ask that you take the temperature of your child before he or she comes to school. That would be greatly appreciated. We hired an extra nurse because of the situation that we're in. So for 4 schools, we had 5 nurses. Unfortunately, one of the nurses at one of the schools has resigned to take another position. So I'm still looking for an extra nurse, but right now I don't have one. I have 1 for each school as opposed to 5 for 4 schools. Any situation where a child shows up ill is going to put us at a disadvantage, and it's going to put the other kids in school at a disadvantage because that nurse will have to spend time with the isolated child.
Go ahead, Mr. D, sorry.
We've provided nurses with extra PPE so that they have gowns, they have eye protection, they have special masks, they have booties. They're not going to wear those things all day, But if there's a situation of isolation, they have to go to that second tier of protection. It's not something that we can easily handle.
On our website, which I know I've said this several times, on our website, it has our district reopening plan. On it gives the regulations and specifics regarding the district scope of how we're handling this reopening. And then along the side are different tabs for each building. On the main district page for our pandemic plan, it says in bold, be sure to self-screen at home each day. And then there's two hyperlinks, one to a parent-student form and the other to a faculty staff form. It's our expectation that each day, students with their families look at the form. You don't have to fill it out and send it in. It's not extra paperwork for you. But what I would do, because I did this for my own family, I just printed it, put it on the refrigerator, and it's a good reminder to just check certain things each day. That way, you know whether you should keep your child home. The same thing for faculty and staff. Something that we've been asked several times is regarding the states that you could have visited.
You're stealing all my material, Joe.
I'm taking all his material. This changes sometimes on a daily basis from the governor's office. So I can't give you, I wouldn't put on a piece of paper in a letter to you the states that are required quarantine, because likely by the time you're reading it, in the sense that you really need it, the states have changed. So please just be looking on nj.gov, has the list of approvable states and the list of states that you need to quarantine from. If that happens and your child goes to school, let's say they're on an A week, what you would do is you would alert your building principal. What I would do is the building principal, the school nurse, and I would copy us as well in it and just say, good morning, just letting you know, we had to attend something out of state. We will be quarantining for 14 days. Please switch us to the virtual list. And then we will know your child will just be virtual for those 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks are over, we'll put you back on what they had previously, an A week or a B week.
I'm very grateful. I've already received about probably 5 emails from parents who let us know that before school opens, they'll be returning from a restricted state and that they asked to be put on virtual. That honesty is so appreciated, and I thank those parents because that just makes life simple. Additionally, staff are in the same situation. We have staff members who are coming back from restricted states. They will not be at school. They'll be working virtually, and we'll deal with that on an individual basis. Some teachers have medical conditions that don't allow them to come to work. They will be teaching from their home virtually, sending lessons and going through all aspects of instruction from their homes. The kids will be in their regular classroom, and of course, another adult, a substitute or a fully certified teacher, will be with those children, assisting when necessary. Probably have a half dozen faculty members in that situation. I must say, and I said this last meeting, I'll say it again, almost any district that's going full virtual, it is because they don't have enough teachers to supervise and teach. We are very blessed. As of today, we're in very good shape in terms of our interaction with our staff, in terms of their presence, in terms of their willingness to come to work. Districts that don't have staff can't teach live. And that's what's happening around us more and more. So I am very grateful to what I consider to be a rather excellent teaching staff. I'm very grateful to the principals. me and my big ideas. I said, if you want to go from an A-B schedule to a virtual schedule, email me. Or if you want to go virtual to A and B, email me. Or if you have a problem, email me. Well, Joe and I are getting approximately 200 emails a day, not all of which are about that topic. But we are doing our best to answer each and every person. There has been a movement towards virtual from when we first took our first survey, but not a major one. Ms. Martinez, the principal at the high school, told me today that she has about 180 live students on A week, 190 live students on B week, and a much smaller number of kids on virtual. Was it 70 or 80, Ms. Martinez? I put her on the spot. I didn't mean to do it. I believe it was about 75 or 80. That's pretty good. At the primary schools, we have more of a virtual presence, more virtual than present, but that will only help us in terms of classroom management, social distancing, etc. I respect the decisions made by parents. What you decide is best for you and your family, and we respect every decision. So many of the emails put forth the struggle of making the decision. So whatever you decide, we will work with you. I would ask those listening to please make a decision as soon as possible. I'm not going to be able, remember, staff comes back Tuesday and Wednesday we have staff. We're not going to be able to sit at the computer and answer emails and answer requests once the staff is back. So please, I would hope, I'll not put a deadline on it, but if you still haven't made a final decision in your family, I need to know by tomorrow. I would greatly appreciate that. The principals, every time I get an email, I have to send it to the principals to enable it. They have done yeoman's work. They've been excellent in terms of communication, not only with me, but with the families. And I'm very grateful to have an administrative team. Remember, there are eight less administrators now than there were just over 2 years ago. The people who are still here and the people like Ms. Martinez, who has joined our team, are working in an excellent fashion. And as a long veteran of education, I'm very proud of them. And I could tell, I'm not looking at Joe, but I could tell he's looking at me, give me the eye, wants to say something. What do you want to say?
We know each other very well. No, I want to be clear on one thing. There are folks that there are faculty members that cannot come back to work and have to go virtual. And I just want you to know that this is not something that they want to do. I won't say any names, but there was a teacher that called me and cried to me on the phone because this teacher could not, by doctor order, come back to work and had to teach virtual. So I want you to know the students want to get back to school, the teachers want to get back to school, we all want to get back to work. So if you, and I say this just because I received a couple of emails from parents that said, I looked into my child's schedule and I saw that their teacher is teaching virtual, like, what the heck? Why are they going? I want you to know, this is not a decision that teachers just decide they don't want to come to work. We are meeting, Mr. D's meeting with every single teacher that asks for an accommodation. We're ascertaining whether there is a real reason that they can't come to work. And, they're all human beings like the rest of us. Each of them has a different situation. And if you could have heard the pain in this teacher's voice at wanting to come back and be with the kids, you would know that our teachers really do want to get back to work.
We had a meeting today of all new staff members, and there were 12 individuals there. Or was it 13?
I don't know. 12 sounds good.
We have a significant number of young teachers on maternity leave, and some of the people we hired today are replacing people who can't make it even from home. I was delighted to see a very vibrant group of new people who understand our mission, and our mission is to serve our clientele of students and families in the town. Part of that serving meant starting a daycare program at the high school for families on virtual instruction weeks. It's not cheap, but at least it's an option. Some families need it for 1 day, some need it 2 days. It's more affordable that way, but we will have a daycare program. So if you're a working parent and your child's on a B week and it's an A week at school, we do have an option to take care of that child and incorporate virtual instruction into that daycare program.
And what are the grades for that, Mr. D?
K through 5, but we're not going to turn anybody down if they're in grade 6 or anything like that.
Very good.
The Alphabet's people have been very excellent in cooperating with us, and I'm very appreciative. One of the most important things I'll say now has to do with if your child is on medication. And everything I'm saying tonight will go out via a note tomorrow to all parents. But if your child is on medication, I need the medication, the doctor's order that goes with the medication. They should be dropped off at the Board of Education office on Monday or Tuesday. They should be labeled with the child's name and grade, and then we will get it to the nurses. So again, I'll repeat, if your child is on medication, we're going to collect the meds at the district office and then put them out to the school nurses because they'll be totally involved on Monday and Tuesday. I'll have somebody at the door ready to serve anyone who's dropping stuff off. If Monday or Tuesday do not work for you, I will need an email explaining what does work, and we'll figure it out. Buses. You ready?
Whoa, are you serious? You were about to say buses?
You were too.
I just said I got a question about buses.
All right.
Boy, that's good.
As of right now, a large majority of our parents who are sending kids are driving their kids. The buses will be well distanced among students, but that is based on the students cooperating with bus drivers who have a heavy responsibility because they're driving a very large vehicle without kids in it. So somehow we'll do spot checking on buses to make sure that kids understand the need to distance. It will be a day one lesson in the schools, but we don't have a lot of kids taking the bus, and I'm very grateful that so many parents have opted to drive their kids in. The number of kids on a bus, we should be very well manageable in terms of distancing. The mask overcomes some of the challenges of being on a bus without a mask. That is why the first thing I said, students must be wearing a mask when they arrive at school. We will not punish a child who doesn't wear a mask. We will teach the child why it is vital. Building principles will govern how supplies, books, and technology will be given out. I mentioned my principles before. Mr. Benfati and Ms. Hens are opening the school up on Saturday to make sure that they can distribute important items to kids. We have spent a lot of money. I'm very grateful that we had the money. The federal government gave us some grant money, which helped us, but all kindergarten and first grade children will have technology. Any family that does not have internet will have internet. And one-on-ones will go from grade 2 with Chromebooks from grade 2 and up. That is as much of the new information or the updated information that I could put forth. As I said, I believe that the reason that our meeting has a low number of people, I believe that that's an indication that we've done a decent job of answering questions, of sharing information, and that makes me proud. Some of the emails we get from parents thanking us for doing our job are embarrassing. We are very appreciative that people feel that we've been doing our best.
I got a couple questions.
Yes.
One question coming through. Yes, they'll receive devices the first day that they're in person, so that, yeah, if they're a virtual student, entirely virtual, we're going to have to make arrangements for them to get a device. And if their first day is virtual and then they want to come in person, they may be without a device for a day, but we will be working with Mr. Bisignani to reach out and make sure that we get you devices as soon as possible. I know that's a concern a couple parents had asked. Mr. Bisignani he just had his second child, so we're very happy for him. And on Monday, he will be hitting the ground running back in district, responding to a lot of these questions about where to pick up devices. But you may be without a device for the first day, but that will be the extent of it. We'll make sure you get your devices. Another question came in about we've had this question in the past, I believe, if a child, their mask breaks or gets dirty, we will have extras. But the expectation is that they come in with one.
Very good. Any other questions from the audience out there? Any questions from this group?
So
I'm deaf. You need to speak up that magnificent voice.
I'm a kindergarten.
You have to translate.
So the letter that I received was saying that we were getting the virtual kids were getting their devices on Wednesday. Is that still?
Very good.
Yeah. So it was about devices specific to, I think you're talking about Durban Avenue. So some schools, you may have been reached out by the principal with specific directions. If you receive communication from a principal with specific directions, that you should follow that, because there are some schools that are creating specific orientation times or drop-off times or pickup times. You should always defer to the building principal. So in that case, yes, follow what came from Ms. McFadden.
Some parents are not happy that we don't have our usual orientation program for kindergarten. There are limits on how many people we can have in a school at one time, and that's the reason kindergarten, of course, is the most poignant moment for a family kid going to school. We're doing videos to introduce the teachers to kids, but I can't have parents and kids in the building at the same time. It's just not allowable at this point. We are restricted. There are 100 chairs out here. That's what our restriction is. Sir.
Well, we did receive a phone call about Tulsa Trail, that the second graders on Wednesday were allowed to see the school.
Yes, because their numbers are manageable.
Now, with that being said, if you have 2 children going to Tulsa Trail, can you pick up the technology for them then on that day?
That is up to the principal. One of the items that doesn't work is a top-down management circumstance. We believe our principals are very responsible. We believe strongly that those decisions are their decisions, not Joe and myself.
So emails should go directly to.
Mr. Byrne. Thank you, sir.
I have a question here, Mr. D. It's a two-part question. It says, can you confirm that the medicine drop-off on Monday and Tuesday includes EpiPens and Benadryl for those with food allergies? And then a follow-up, will no food be eaten in classrooms at all?
Obviously, if a student has a need because of medication to eat food, we're going to allow that. I don't have the nurses. The nurses gave me a significant list of doctor order items related to medication. I am guessing, I think it's an accurate guess, that Benadryl, the nurses will kill me if I'm wrong, but I think the Benadryl thing is acceptable. The EpiPens things are acceptable. We are not, it's been advised not to use nebulizers. That's a key factor in this. Nebulizers were commonly used. We've been instructed not to use them in schools because of the potential of mist.
I got one more that just came through. Okay, so I received this sort of question or something similar to this a lot. So the question is basically, can we talk about how synchronous instruction works? So I'll be very brief on this. He says, be brief. Yes. So there will be cameras in classrooms. That camera will face the teacher. If you're at home, you will be able to see the teacher teaching from your Chromebook. They will be on Google Meet, not another platform. It's all through Google. Then if I'm at home on my computer watching, let's just say, Ms. Martinez, if I have a question for Ms. Martinez, I'm going to write to her and I'm going to say, question, or I'm going to unmute and I'm going to speak to Ms. Martinez. Now, depending on how the teacher has it set up, the teacher may hear the student in their ear if they have headphones on in the class, or they may have the speakers turned on in their room, and that student's question will come right through the classroom. That's a way that you can have live interaction with people present and people here. It's very similar to the way I'm doing it right now. I have 100 so viewers at home. I'm getting questions coming in. The only difference is I'm not accepting questions into my ear, or because there's 100 of them, or people coming through speakers to you, that they're doing it back channel through email. But otherwise, it's very similar. Yes? You have to say it one more time, sorry. Oh, okay. So the question is whether classes will be recorded. We are not setting that as an expectation for teachers or a requirement of teachers. However, some teachers may opt to record. That may be a possibility, or they may record different segments of the lesson. But in general, we're not setting that as an expectation. It just may be something that a teacher may do. And also, someone had asked me this, and this is just one last point. It may be true that I'm the teacher, I speak for maybe 20 minutes in instruction of the 50-minute class period. And maybe the last 30 minutes are students doing an activity on their own. So it may be true that it's not always live instruction, and then the teacher is just working their way across the room, helping students with an activity, or on the computer talking to a student one-on-one. So I don't want you to think that if your child is in a 50-minute class and you don't hear the teacher for a while, that the class is over. It's just like in real classrooms. There may be times a kid takes a test or does an activity. That will still happen just like normal.
Joe, talk about the need to mute.
Yeah, so Mr. D said talk about the need to mute. Yeah, if you have 15 students on a Google Meet and then 10 students in front of you, and all those students are not muted, then you're going to hear this. You're going to hear the dog bark. You're going to hear the mother say, I hope you're up there studying. And it just gets to be real annoying. Plus, you may have students, for example, my family, I have 2 kids that are going to be on computers, right? You may have more than that on computers. You might get feedback from other people on Google Meets. So unless you're talking, you should always be on mute. It's just a general rule of thumb.
When a child therefore wants to speak, he or she would unmute it. Now, I know that's not an easy thing to teach little kids, but it's just something that as time moves on, we'll get used to it. So,
Yes.
This goes back to when you're talking about fevers and the sniffles. If you want to hold a kid home, but they don't have a fever, they just have a sniffle, can they go virtual?
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, so the question, just again for the people at home, if a child is sick but feels well enough to do work, can that child opt out of, for that day, in-person instruction and work from home virtually? Absolutely, that is totally acceptable. Yes, question.
I already told my babysitter that sick days are moving fast.
I like it. I like it.
That was the question.
She says sick days are a thing of the past for her child.
Who would I talk to about getting my little one's passwords in the Google Classroom?
Okay, so the question was about getting younger children's passwords to get into some of the digital devices or Google Meets. This would all come to you from the building level or from that child's teacher. So I'm sorry that's not going to be the best answer for you, but for like I know Miss McFadden in Durban is going to be sending out she's already sent out a lot of information, but you will get passwords and all that information locally from the building.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is your last one.
With all this virtual attendance, how would virtual attendance be taken and will it be on Power School still for us to track?
It will be, yeah. So there'll be a distinction that you could be virtually present or physically present. They both count as present, but it allows us to know back in our records, was the child in the building or not? That's important for contact tracing. God forbid something would happen, right? So to answer your question, yes, it'll be done the same way. If your child was supposed to be virtual and you're expecting your child's in that class, they'll still get marked absent if they're not there, and you'll still get an alert.
Well, I'm saying with the sniffle part, they were supposed to be physical. Do we have to send something to the teachers saying, look, little Jimmy's not in today. He's going to be on the computer, so when he jumps on the computer, he's not missed and marked absent.
Okay, so the question, I'm sorry about that. The question is if let's say it's an A student, and that child has the sniffles, you're keeping the child home for a virtual day. Here's what I would do. I would send a message to the principal and the child's teacher, giving them a heads up. Hey, my son doesn't feel so great, but he's still going to be in school virtually, just a heads up. And then they will know to look for him or her in school and hit the virtually present. And no more questions from the folks at home. We had about 100 people there. So
Very good. All we can say is we're praying, we're hoping, and we're doing. And we'll do the best we can to make sure that your kids are educated and safe. Thank you very much. God bless you.
thank you.